Hi, this is Nathan Hikes with the GROWMARK FS Agronomy Minute. Last time we looked at going out into our cornfield and taking a yield estimate of what's there in the standing corn. Today we're going to dive a little bit deeper in trying to make some analysis of some of the factors that are contributing to our yield so that hopefully they can help us make a decision on how we can improve that for next year. So we'll start out by taking 1/1000th of an acre, so 17 feet 5 inches and 30-inch rows. And we're going to, instead of harvesting just a few ears, we want to harvest and husk all the ears. We can bring them out and either set them on a tailgate, set them on a table like I have here, and do what we call a tailgate talk and really walk through the differences we see in those ears. So first, we lay them out into 3 groups. So we've got the small ears here, we've got the medium-sized ears, and then we've got the large or full ears down here at the bottom. And then within each of those groups, we'll pull a few select ones out and do the same counts that we did last week to determine the yield estimate for them. So we'll count kernels around, we'll count length, and we'll count the number of rows in each one of these. So we'll find our total yield estimate, but then find the contribution of each of these groups. And we have a handy worksheet for this that you can either print out and fill out in the field and use a calculator, or if you take an iPad or a computer to the field, you can do it and it'll fill in automatically when you put in some of our numbers. So for example, out of this field, it averaged 191 bushels per acre. So out of that, there are 13 of these full ears, and 89 bushels out of that 191 were contributed by the full ears. So these would have averaged about 219 bushels per acre if our whole acre was like that. The medium ears, there were 16 of them, so there's more ears, and they contributed 93 bushels. So more ears, but not all that much more yield contribution, and they would have been 186 bushels per acre if the whole acre was those ears. And last, we have these few little small ears, and they contributed 9 bushels and would have been 98 bushels per acre if that was what the whole acre was like. So once we have that information broken down, we can make some more observations. So first we want to look at our number. So I planted at 32,500 plants per acre, and I've got 32 ears in this 1,000th of an acre. So that's really good. If you're 2, 3, 4, even more thousand of your final stand less than what you planted, that might be what the first thing you want to look at. Do I need to upgrade something on my planter? Were my soil conditions at planting poor? So that could be your first yield limitation. Next, we'll look at the small ears. A lot of times these come from a runt plant that was maybe a color behind or was lacking in something. So if I have a lot of these, once again, it could be a planter issue or maybe an early season fertility issue that plant wasn't able to get going well. In addition, the next thing then would probably be a look at our rows around, because that's an indicator of our early season health. All along here, I was mostly 16 to 18 rows around, which tells me I had some really good growing conditions and plenty of fertility early in the season. If we're down in that 14, 12, that might be an early season fertility problem you want to address. Then of course, we'll look at our number of kernels in each row. Once again, I was pretty good throughout here, but I would have liked to bring some of these medium ears up into the larger portion here. So that means maybe I could have run out of nitrogen a little bit late in the season, especially we see more of the tip dieback here. Not bad, but there's a little bit of that. So I might have run out of some nutrition late in the season, or maybe my plant health was suffering. So maybe a foliar fungicide would have helped me, and especially when we see some of this disease growing on some of these ears, it's a good indicator maybe that's my next move. So generally, when we're doing this evaluation, the first thing we want to look at, how can I move these small ears into the medium category? Because that's usually our biggest yield benefit. And once I have these minimized, that's when I can start looking at how I'm trying to push some of these medium-sized ears up into the full. So we want to take care of the low-hanging fruit, get our planter taken care of, and everything to make the small ears into the medium, and then I can do some of the value-added processes to bring my medium ears into the large in order to maximize my yield. Another great use for this process is to make comparisons, either between different fields or different parts of fields that traditionally behave differently, or if you're testing out 2 different practices that you'd like to see the difference between. For example, we have 2 different plots from a field trial, and they're treated exactly the same, except this one had no nitrogen stabilizer and this one had a nitrogen stabilizer in its nitrogen applications. And we see that we moved a lot more of these medium-sized ears down into the larger section, and the larger ears are actually larger on average, both in rows around and length. So we find out that our nitrogen stabilizer gave us more nitrogen both early and late to support a larger ear. So at the end of the year, hopefully, we'll find when we combine that this is yielding more, but this gives us a better idea of why. One final thing to consider when you're using this process and making considerations for next year is going to be your planting population. This is a great tool to figure out, is your planting population sufficient, or is that probably your limiting factor? And we do that with something called bushels per thousand. So we take the bushels per acre that either the whole section got or else a single group got, and we divide that by the 1,000 plants per acre, or it would just simply, since we're in 1,000 of an acre here, it would be the number. So for example, this group here yielded 93 bushels per acre, and it had 16 ears in it, so we find out that that is 5.8 bushels per acre as our bushels per thousand. This whole grouping averaged about 6 bushels per thousand. Until we hit 8 bushels per thousand, population is generally not our most limiting factor. So we know over here that I can make a lot of improvements before I need to increase my planting population. Here, it's a little bit higher, it's only a little over 7, but in the large grouping here, it was about 7.8. So I know about this size ear is when I'm starting to max out, and it would soon be beneficial to increase my planting population. However, since I still have these ears here, there are some steps I can take to help move them up before that's my first consideration. So once my entire group, my entire field starts reaching that 8 bushels per thousand, that's when I should start considering increasing my planting population in order to maximize my yield. At GROWMARK FS, we're looking for ways to help you make better decisions and increase your yields now and into the future. So if you're interested in evaluating the corn that you have out now and looking to help improve that in the future, call your nearest GROWMARK FS location or crop specialist today.